community newspaper, and spring is here. What does that mean? More daylight time and more time at a park near you. All right, Michael, you ready?
We're ready. Let's rock and roll. All right. So we have a couple lizards over here. But they're really not lizards per se. They are, Samantha?
So these guys are geckos. We have our leopard gecko and we have an African fat-tailed gecko with us right here.
The camera over there. Are you going to take about? Is he going to run away?
He's not going to run away. He's going to hang out kind of right with us this morning.
So, Michael, you're jumping right into our animal ambassadors here, which is exciting because I know you love animals.
I do. Been around it my entire life. It's one of the great gifts my father was able to get for me, and being able to have critters like this. Look at that guy.
Yeah, so this is our leopard gecko. His name is Henry, and he's one of our animal ambassadors out at Camp Oasis Bower.
And tell us where Camp Oasis Bower is.
So Camp Oasis Bower is actually down south, out in the Redlands. We are down in Homestead off 264th Street, and we are a big 114-acre property.
So you're west of Chrome?
Yes, so we're right in between Chrome and US 1.
Okay.
And our nickname for camp is Camp OB. So every now and then it might be referred as Camp OB.
Okay. Yes.
And tell us about this guy right here.
So this guy's a leopard gecko. He is found in all of Northern Asia and the Middle East. So he's found kind of anywhere that it's rocky. It's a little bit, he's kind of not used to being out and about right now. He's normally asleep right now. And he is going to be he's going to be one of the most common pets. So
he's going to be.
Yes. Well, so he is one of the most common pets. They're really, really easy to take care of as pets. As you can tell, he's just kind of hanging out. So it's a really good starter pet for younger kids.
And how old is Henry?
So he's an adult. We got him from a family, so we're not 100% sure exactly how old he is, but he is an adult.
And this is about as big as they get?
Yep, that's going to be as big as he gets.
Here's the good part. And what do they eat?
So they are insectivores. So they will eat all kinds of crickets, mealworms, stuff like that. Anything they can get a hold of. But this guy eats all crickets.
Are these guys running free, if you will?
Not here. So they haven't ever really been released out here. So they're not running free invasively. But they are running free in their home areas. So they're pretty common.
Let me ask you. So the tail of this guy looks to be a different color. Or is that just my eyes? Is the tail look different?
So the color pattern is a little different.
And that's just a pattern, or did he lose part of his tail and he's growing another one?
Good question. So he did actually lose part of his tail before
my
time, but yes, you got it.
We have an animal expert.
Yeah, you got it. So once they do lose their tail, their color pattern does grow back differently. And so that's kind of what happened with him. And he's actually getting ready to shed. So that's why he's more of a dull color.
Okay, so when did he lose his tail?
Well, I've worked here for a year, and it was before me. So he's always had this tail with me. But previous to that, I'm not sure.
And for the folks that don't know why animals like this lose their tails, so what are you supposed to happen?
Well, that's a survival technique, right? So let's say there's a predator, and lizards, especially here in Miami, those feral cats are one of their main predators. Yes. So what happens is when a cat pounces on a lizard's body, that tail actually stops blood flow to the tail drops, and that tail keeps moving. So to the cat, the tail looks like an actual worm, so it distracts the cat, releases the lizard gets away, the cat gets a little tail treat, and that tail grows back.
You're saying that the animal itself causes the tail to depart
from the body.
Not it being torn off.
Nope, not it torn off. It stopped.
With lizards and things?
The majority of the lizard species do that. Now, there are some lizards that do not drop their tail, like iguanas. Iguanas, if their tails drop off, they don't regenerate. But the majority of lizards do have, and I'm going to see if I remember. Is it called Autotomy septa?
Yes.
Okay. That's the way I pronounce it.
I'm really impressed.
I'm very impressed.
Autotomy septa.
So how do the lizards including the geckos there, survive without this tail that's all part of their prehistoric genetics? How does that happen?
So they grow it back eventually, like I was saying before, and the easiest way to think of it is that they're not feeling at the tip top of their game. So they aren't necessarily going to be sick. Like, they can still function. They're still alive and functioning, but they're not at their tip top shape. So when they're regenerating that, it's kind of like if we were to be sort of sick, but they
it's almost
regenerate
like
pretty
fasting.
fast.
Like right now,
So,
I'm
yes.
fasting,
Yes.
right? So I could tell you that the energy the animal needs to regrow its tail, it'll slow down, right? The eating habits change. They will hide more often just to make sure they get a lot of that energy to regrow its tail.
This guy gets into an altercation with the predator.
Mhm.
The predator's like working him out. And the gecko's brain says, you know what? He's after my tail. Let's leave him a little bit, and I'll sort of slither away the other direction. And they can do that spontaneously.
They can do that spontaneously. Now keep in mind, predators are going to be out there while that tail is regenerating.
Yeah.
Right. So during this time, the lizards really have to strategize for their survival.
I'm really curious about this. Is there a particular part of the tail that spontaneously?
That's a great question.
So there is. If you look at this thinnest part, that's going to be where it detaches from.
All of them. It's just more or less.
So from all of the ones that I've looked into and that I've studied, it's going to be about the same area of their tail, because it has to be able to separate easily. Because remember, they're getting attacked, so it has to be able to separate easily, and they have to get away.
Nature is so amazing.
No, that's the wonder of the wild. It really is incredible. I mean, if you notice, the tail has different segmented areas. So exactly what Samantha says, that, once they regrow it, that tail becomes a little weaker on that end because predators are going to come back and try to attack it. Now, I do have to tell you, sometimes when they regenerate their tail, sometimes it might grow back in two-tail formation, or it might grow like a stumpy tail. So it really depends on how that animal saves its energy to grow the tail. Obviously, this animal has great care at Camp OB because it grew back such a healthy tail. And
you must have a lot of crickets down there to feed these guys.
We do. So if there's a cricket that's left behind here in the studio,
Tommy, I see one in here. I'm sure I know where it's going to be hiding.
You'll hear it before you find it. I can tell you that.
So tell us about Camp OB, and then we're going to get on to this other gecko over here.
Absolutely. So Camp OB is a little bit different than a lot of parks. We are set on 114 acres, but we are more geared towards a large group camp facility. So we are not open to the public. That also means that when you rent at Camp OB, we have 4 cabins. We have 4 air-conditioned cabins and then 2 non-air-conditioned cabins that we rent out to larger groups, large facilities.
I call that glamping.
Yes, very much so.
Right?
But yeah, so we have all kinds of corporate events, groups, large groups that come out there. And so when you rent, you get exclusive use of the facility. So you get use of all of the grounds. We have a hardwood hammock out there. And we have that. We also have a summer camp going on. We have spring break camps. We have all kinds of. Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of when it's more open to the public, when it's open to our participants, because it's never really open to the public. Like, you and I couldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to go spend the day and have a picnic at Camp OB, which is kind of what makes it unique too.
So are there any adult kids that go there? Like 45 or 50-year-old people say, I want to find out what's going on here?
Yeah, so sort of. So we host all kinds of corporate events, all kinds of gatherings for church groups, stuff like that. And those can be any ages, but they don't come out to all of our programs as of right now are geared towards kids because we're trying to get kids outside.
But it is a great venue to have a family reunion or a retreat or team building. Yes. That is a very incredible. I said glamping, but Camp OB, the most glamping you're going to get is the AC, because they really connect you to nature. They have caves that you could explore. They have archery that you could try out. They have a swimming pool. So it's a really great retreat right in the middle of Homestead. So highly recommended if you're looking at something different to do with your family, as we are now trying to get back together. Camp OB.
Coming soon, baby.
Yep, coming soon. You're absolutely right. But Camp OB is a hidden treasure for these group activities. And it's really inclusive. Once you reserve that park site, it's really your home away from home when you're out there.
So that you can rent a cabin.
Mhm.
And how many people typically sleep in a cabin?
So the way that it is, you have to rent multiple cabins, but we have 104 beds, and we have 160 total like facilities for people to sleep in. So for up to 160 people.
And the cabin is about what size, man? More or less.
Each one has about 26 beds in it. So
yeah, so they're
so
fairly
pretty
large.
big.
I mean, scout groups.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a lot of scout groups that visit this area as well, because they also, their specialty is outdoor skills as well. And I do have to mention, they have an industrial kitchen. So the neat part about that is that you get you get that experience of cooking for the group and having, table setting as well. We actually have hosted our staff meetings there. And we also enjoy that cooking aspect as well. So like I said, a home away from home at Camp OB with Miami-Dade Parks.
Yes.
So we have another gecko over, African fat-tailed gecko.
We do. And
And what size
You want me to
cage
hold
is
that
it?
leopard gecko while you take the
What
fat tail
size cage
gecko?
do these guys live in?
so these guys normally live
Susan, should we bring a couple home? Can you buy these in pet stores?
You can. So these guys are actually really, really common in pet stores, and they're really common overall as pets.
Wow.
They're common, but remember, they're insectivores. So the primary diet is insects. So you'll have to have crickets and mealworms,
Yes.
living alongside.
This guy here looks cute. Is this a baby?
So he's not. He's actually also full grown.
Which is, what does that make him? 3, 4, 5 years old?
Yes.
He has an interesting face, folks. It's just like,
I know, we would try to.
Yeah, I don't know.
For you.
Neat, right?
They are. They're really, really cool. They're really docile animals. So they love to just be on you, to be close to you. And they don't bite. They don't, pretty much all of the bad things that you think of when you think of owning pets, they don't have. So they're pretty easy to take care of. They're easy to clean up after.
So if you were feeding these guys crickets,
Mhm.
that's their mainstay?
Yep.
How many crickets a day do these guys eat?
So these guys eat between 3 to 4 times a week, and we put about 5 crickets in there.
A week?
Well, each time that they eat.
Oh.
So it's going to be a toss-up how much they eat. Most of the time they're eating 2 or 3 crickets every couple days. So not a whole
And
lot.
Samantha, do you guys also dust them with vitamins? I know that's really
Yes.
important. We all say these are, easier pets than, some of the other exotic animals that you could have. But although they might be very common, there's other things you need to think about. Vitamin, dusting the crickets with a vitamin, making sure
Yes.
that they're moist, because, they
Right.
shed. And I see that one, the tip of the tail, he's
Yeah,
about to
he's
shed
in
that tip of
middle
the tail.
it.
A friend of mine was telling me about their son who had the leopard.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Gecko.
The leopard, okay, you got it.
The 4-year-old boy, the critters walking. all
Walking,
over.
yeah.
They are very, very docile.
Yes.
They are. They're mostly nocturnal, just like your common geckos that you see here in Miami.
You let them out in the bedrooms.
Good luck finding
Right. Good luck.
them.
You want to hold one? I mean,
No,
they're
sorry.
no.
Thank you.
You sure?
So
Okay.
one of the things I want to mention is when they shed their skin, they usually shed from the tail to the head, and they eat their shed.
Yes.
Another survival tactic for lizards, right?
Mhm.
And for the folks that don't know, snakes shed all the time.
Yep.
But they leave their shed.
They leave their shed behind.
And then
Geckos-
hunters, when we used to go hunt snakes, we just keep looking and see if we can find. We know that they were there in the last week or 2 or 3.
Right, if they left their shed. Well, geckos and lizards are known to actually eat their shed. In fact, that's one of the other ways. If they have any pesky insects that are on them, they just eat the shed, get rid of those. And it's another indication that they're going in size, right, Samantha?
Correct.
So
Yeah,
shedding.
It's interesting. I live in horse country. we used to be populated with a lot of, unfortunately, iguanas, but the iguanas would come in the house on the patio and they would poop in the pool, so the predators wouldn't know that they were there.
Right.
And
Right.
Very, very, very.
Yeah, a lot of animals do that. A
Yes.
lot of animals poop in the water just to make sure that they don't give away whether they might be roosting at night.
I want to share a story with you about some Toca geckos, and those get pretty big.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
About this big. Can their head be this big?
Oh yeah.
And even larger.
Right. So we have some big little baby birds, and one day we go in this cage, and all that's left is 4 or 5 heads of the little birds.
Oh.
And 20 birds were gone, and there was only 1 feather on the ground. So he said, okay, so it wasn't a raccoon or so, right? The cage was big, so it's either a skunk, all right? A skunk. I'm sorry, it was either a snake that got in,
Right.
or the gecko. Sure enough, the geckos were hiding on the top of the bird cages, between the roof and right here, and they were there. And we eventually caught them, and they had eaten a lot of those guys. And we probably had about 15 around the house in the back.
In the
And
back.
they eat a lot of the critters. In this case, unfortunately, they ate some.
Yeah, well, Toca geckos are very common for those individuals that don't like pesticide. I know a lot of individuals that actually buy Toca geckos and put them in their cupboards because they eat all of the ants and the roaches. But you're absolutely right. They get very large and they bark and they can bite. I mean, I'm going to be real here.
Yes.
So we have,
Right?
They hurt.
We have big lights, all right, on the patio, all right. So in the evening, the buffalo toads are there, and the geckos.
And the geckos hanging out. The
Just
lizards and the
It's
amphibians
just a
just hanging
song.
out.
So some of the geckos were living with red tile roof in there, and then they would stay in there, and at night, all the insects would come around, and they'd just be sitting there waiting. I actually enjoy the noise. Sorry, if we can hear it through our.
Yeah, the night noises
Yes.
of the frogs
Sounds
and the
of South
toads.
Florida.
And really what they're doing is that they're controlling the bug population, around our homes, which is really important.
So some people that don't like insecticides have which ones? The Toca?
The Toca geckos
Yes.
are really for inside the cupboards, although I know some people do let them roam around the house. And
What
that's
about these
important.
guys? These guys aren't any good for that?
So these guys aren't really going to
Yeah.
be as good for that. Just because 1, they don't eat nearly as much as the Toca geckos do,
Right.
and 2, they are more used to being hidden in rocks and
These guys are-
Yeah. Yeah. Toca geckos have those little sticky pads. So they could travel, in a
Anywhere.
horizontal motion. Now, the ones that we have here in Miami, and you see them a lot outside in your windows by your light fixtures, those are the ones you want to keep around. And sometimes they do sneak into your house, and they're probably controlling the bug population
Okay, so
there.
what are the little green guys, the frogs that have those little pads that hang out near the lights at night? Is there a name of those in particular? Is there one in particular?
No, I'm trying
Are
to.
you talking about I believe they're Cuban tree
The
frogs?
Cuban tree frogs are common,
But-
but I don't think. I mean, those do come around these areas. Those are non-natives
Yeah.
here in Miami. But there's also just the regular tree frogs
Mhm.
that are found here as well, which have like a very light underbelly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And by the way, I think I told you last time we moved some Maricas, and all of a sudden I'm looking at my driveway, and there's a snake about this big, maybe. And I thought it was a fake snake because it had all these colors on it, and it sort of curved. It wasn't moving. I said, which one of my friends brought this over here? Well, it turns out I recognized it as a boa. It was an African sand boa.
Sand boa.
And I looked at it and I went, oh. And I'm looking 20 feet over. That's where we took out all the Eureka's, and we disrupted its flow.
Right.
Where it
Yeah.
was slipping. So I gave to a friend who's into tortoises and things. So.
Yeah, here in Miami, you'll see a lot of interesting creatures that don't, belong in this area. And Samantha mentioned, you have to be a responsible pet owner.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of that, you want to talk about the pythons?
Absolutely. So, much like most invasive species, they were let go in the area, and they have just exploded in population. So kind of like what we like to push anytime you're dealing with any kind of animals or anything, you want to make sure that you're first and foremost, before you even get an animal, you want to research it. You want to look into how long they're going to live, what you need for them to be healthy. And then you want to look into everything that it entails for that animal to be with you its entire life. Most of the invasive species that we have are due to people letting them go, people deciding, oh, it's not going to harm or destroy our environment that much. It's just one animal. But what people don't realize is one animal, if everybody lets one animal go, then it has the ability to take over and completely destroy ecosystems. And that's what happened with the python.
So Grant and I used to import animals from Africa and South America, so we're quite familiar with that. I see Fish and Wildlife put down a new mandate concerning pythons and iguanas and some other critters. To try to deal with the Everglades challenge. It's way past the challenge. It's way past
that.
Right?
Yes.
And ultimately, I don't know if there's enough manpower to hunt these guys down and to make a difference out there. What ultimately is going to happen in the next 5 years to our four-legged friends
that's an interesting scenario. I mean, right now where we at is that humans need to be part of the solution, right? We need to identify them. Where are we seeing the populations? That's why reporting it to FWC right now, it's so critical, because we're at that point that we need to figure out how we could help our environment. There's a lot of great monitoring, a lot of great programs, great collaborations between different organizations. Zoo Miami here through the Parks Department is a great partner with FWC and all the other partners working with the Burmese python. But once we see that high increase of population, eradication becomes critical to make sure we don't tip over the environment. And I think that's where we're at.
And
very much so.
And quite possibly that's what's going to happen, because I know people that used to import baby iguanas. They would bring in thousands.
Right.
But people bring in thousands, and certain percentage of them escaped, right?
Right.
Yes.
And now they're all over. So the question at hand for Fish and Wildlife is how are they going to control them? I know they're going after to try to stop them from coming in, and I think that's going to be good.
Right.
But I think there probably has to be a really aggressive step.
Yeah, Michael, when I started in this field, one of the things that I didn't understand until I became aware and educated is the importance of hunting. I mean, you look at deer hunting, you look at alligator hunting, and that's when populations just got too increased to support, right? So the environment. And we also realized that the high population was also affecting the animal population, right? So there were high numbers of diseases, right? And so I had to educate myself, because at one point, working with animals, you become that animal's ambassador, but then tables shift and then you become aware and educated where eradication is important. So I learned about hunting, and look, now we've had hunting seasons. Yep. The populations are now stable. And we just have to educate ourselves on that.
Most of us don't want to think of that process.
It's tough.
There's an old saying, our strength's out of control.
Yeah.
Our weaknesses.
Yeah.
So here we're controlling this over here. So the population goes up over there, but they got to eat.
Right. So, I mean, you really have to balance out. And again, for those that are great hunters, those that, just like you have to be a responsible pet owner, you have to be a responsible hunter with the right licensing and using the entire body of that animal. Because to me, I mean, and I think Samantha feels the same way. We care for these animals, but we also understand that we are a critical part of the solution, and we have to work with FWC and partners to make sure that we have that balance.
So Samantha, let's hear about how you got into working with the cow and with all these critters.
So with these guys, I used to be a teacher, and I absolutely love, my background is in environmental biology. So I was like, what better way than to teach kids about being while you're outdoors. So teach kids about all of these things that we love and all of these things that we need to preserve, while showing them how cool it is and while letting them get to experience it. And so I got a job at Camp OB. I absolutely love it. I am like I said, we are doing all kinds of programming with kids. We have all kinds of owl walks. We're teaching archery to kids. We're just kind of there to get kids outside and teach them how important this awesome environment is that we have.
Yes, I sit here, I'm reminiscing when I was talking about this big out near Reynolds Park, snake hunting. I can't remember exactly where it was, but really enjoying that, right? And so that's been, quite a few years to be able to have a lot of critters. So tell us about some other programs.
And you know what? That's a great time, Michael, to what's happening. Spring is here. Spring break recess is getting ready to kick off this Friday, right? So this Friday, it's a teacher planning day. And Camp OB, as well as Miami Eco Adventures, is offering a one-day mini camp. So you could drop off the kids at the park, limited capacity, but they get to experience the wonders of the wild, meet these great animal critters, meet great naturalists like Samantha. So if you're looking for something to do this Friday, teacher planning day, kick off spring break. Now, we've got this whole long spring break coming up, right? I believe it is the 29th, that week of the 29th. Yes. And we have several camps taking place. And if you don't mind, I love the fact that when we come in, you just get to reminisce about these great connections with nature. And Miami-Dade County Parks offers that. So spring break, general park camps. So let's say your kids love sports, recreational activities. We have what are called the general camps taking place, $45. $45, and if there is a sibling, there is a sibling discount. Now, I say $45, but it is from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. We offer early care
what a deal,
and late drop off. $40 to connect with great programs, and it's known for our national program of the Fit to Play program and the Fit to Lead program from ages 6 all the way up to ages 17 if they do the mentorship program. So that's your general camp, and those are offered in the north, the central, and the south. Now, we have what's called our specialty camp, which Samantha mentioned Camp OB offers, but there's a couple more. We have our nature-based camp offered by Eco Adventures, but I do have to say our spring camp is booked at AD Barnes and at Camp Manatee up in the north, but we're offering the virtual spring camp opportunity. So if your kid needs to stay home, connect with us. They're going to learn and explore their home and connect nature at home, which is important.
I saw a big billboard over on Bird Road for the Parks Department. What's the new website address?
Oh, here we go, Tommy. It's Park Link.
There you go.
You got it. Park Link, and that's where you could register for all of the programs, including Friday's mini camp and then our spring break camp. I want to mention that some of our specialty camp, Deering Estate is offering the marine biology experience at the Deering Estate, which is called the Splash into Spring. We also have a junior golf spring camp as well. So if you like to golf or want to learn the fundamentals of golf, this might be the spring camp for your kids. And then, of course, we have our camps with children with disabilities. And those are such great camps. They learn life skills, but they also have recreational activities, arts and craft for students with disabilities. So guess what? We say we've got a camp for that. So we've got something for everyone.
So I do want to thank all those people back many years ago that got me around animals, cats and dogs and snakes and four-legged guys like this, because I've had a lifetime experience with animals and really have an affinity to them. And when I was fortunate, I don't know if I told you this dog comes to my front door and he won't leave. So he's hungry, so I feed him, water him, okay? Now for sure he's not going home, right? So he's trying to find a home for him. Nobody will take him. I leave one day. He's running after me. I'm driving. And finally I'm going, what am I going to do? I said, let me just walk down the street. As I walk down the street, I'm going straight. He takes a left and goes home. He lived next door. He came to visit for a week. So you never know.
You never know.
When that's going to happen. And I think moms and dads, when you have your kids, get them around animals because it's different type of connection that you have, and when you can enjoy that, you realize how big this universe is and how wonderful nature is.
And I'm so glad that you share that, because that sense of empathy, connecting to nature and to animals. I mean, I don't know about you, Samantha, but I feel that, I mean, sometimes we're called like the lizard or the animal whisperer, right?
Yes.
But it just really brings that sense of empathy, and it translates to our human values, which I think is so important, right? That dog probably just needed you for that 1 week, right? And then, hey, he followed you to get home, Michael. But I think you bring such a great point. In 2005, they coined the nature deficit disorder. Have you heard about that? Where it's when we don't connect to nature, a lot of things can happen. But through the moments of when you connect to nature and wildlife, you really feel a sense of place, a sense of self, and that term is interesting.
I was talking to a rheumatologist the other day, and she actually brought it up because she asked me why I enjoyed playing in the yard. I said that's why.
That's why. And there's a great book.
You feel it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and you see all the critters. We're sitting on our front porch yesterday. We're hearing the crows talk to each other a long way away from each other. And there's some pigeons in the neighborhood. Then there's a hawk up there, right? Then you got the cats and the peacocks. We got a whole bunch of critters. And just sitting there and listening to it, it's really amazing how this whole universe.
It really is. And if you're looking for a great book to learn a little bit more about nature deficit disorder, it's not a medical term. I do want to say that. But the book is called The Last Child in the Woods. It is really, really great. It was coined in 2005, and there's a couple series of that now.
Let's talk about it, Camp OB. That's way out there, right? When you're out there, you don't hear the traffic, right?
Nope.
What do you hear when you're out there?
So other than hearing lots of kids laughing, that's most of it. A lot of times you just hear nature. So you're going to hear the birds, you're going to hear your geckos, your favorite geckos. You're just going to feel like you're closer to nature. So even if you're out there for a day, 2 days, it just kind of brings home that idea that you guys were just talking about, that we need to be connected to nature. So you're hearing, sometimes for the first time, you're hearing the owls, you're hearing the birds that are out there singing. We have all kinds of blue jays out there. So it just
and sometimes I say you
home.
have to disconnect to connect, right?
Yes.
So we were out in the Redlands the other day. We went to a couple of nurseries out there, driving around the golf carts and the mud puddles and everything. I'm going, this is wonderful.
I know.
It's
Just
the
to
life.
think that
It
you're only
really
like
is.
15 minutes away,
Yep.
that you leave the concrete jungle and you head to South Dade, and you're in this great agricultural and just surrounded by, and then to the right you've got Biscayne Bay, to the left, you have Everglades National Park. It's just, we are so blessed to be in this great South Florida region.
Okay, so we have springtime. Things.
Yep, we have our spring camp. So make sure
camp.
to register at Park Link. You do have to set up an account and register all the kids under that name and sign them up.
So this is April, all right?
Yep.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with school, but there will be summer coming between June and August.
That's right.
And the county's got a lot of programs all over the county.
You got it. So
Yep.
our summer camp registration actually starts today. I know Camp OB launched that already. And next Monday, we're going to focus on the different summer camp opportunities. So we're going to finish spring break, which is this week. And remember, Friday is a teacher planning day, so register for that. And then on Monday, we're going to jump straight into summer, because that registration kicks off at Camp OB today. But we still have this week, Michael.
Yes.
So could I share a couple of things that are happening this
Sure.
week? Again, spend time safely outdoors while you're connecting to nature. We're going to allow you to spend a lot of time in South Dade. So this Friday, you could stay home with the kids. As I mentioned, Bill Sadowski and the Nature Center, they're going to have fishing for beginners. So adults, if you're taking the day off on Friday, come out to Bill Sadowski, 9 o'clock. They're going to have fishing for beginners. Have lunch, pack a lunch, and then at 1 o'clock, they're going to have archery. So spend your day at Bill Sadowski Nature Center. Now, Friday night, if you're looking to do something on Friday night, you could join a campfire and owl walk. I really enjoy this interaction, right? Just being at the park at night, walking the trails. And then if you're lucky, it's not guaranteed, you might have an owl that joins you on the night walk. And I mean, even the gecko got excited about that night walk, right? And that's going to take place at Costello Hammock Park. And the night walk actually ends with a campfire. And Costello is out of 223 and 162nd. So right in the middle of that agricultural fields, which is beautiful. And then Saturday the 27th, stay there at Costello. Join them for their historic bike ride. And that's a really interesting experience. You get to get on a bike. We give you all the equipment. Everything is sanitized, great social distancing. And then you get to pedal around the historic sites around the Redland area with one of our naturalists. So really, really hope that you planned your Friday and Saturday down at South Dade. And of course, these animal encounters are always available at Bill Sadowski, right? And spend more time safely outdoors. I think we're heading into hopefully a safe zone, although those spring breakers are right now.
Well, certainly the mood of everybody that I know certainly is dramatically improved, and we managed to get to the other side of this, and we look forward to having you back again. Were there some things you wanted to, some other things we wanted to cover today?
Well, I just wanted to say that next Monday, we are going to jump straight into summer and give you some great summer planning with Miami-Dade County Parks, specialty summer camps that are happening, including Camp OB. And of course, we always have great activities happening. So I do want to mention, I don't know, we have the spring equinox that happened on Saturday.
So what does that mean?
So that means we have longer daylights. We have beautiful dawns.
Thank goodness.
Yes. And this morning was a little chilly, right?
Yes.
It was a little chilly this morning.
It's cold, but it's nice. Let's not jump into summer yet.
So we're going to have, when we all go home from work, we're going to have an extra hour plus at home and be able to enjoy nature.
Perfect time to get out of your backyard.
Yes. Amen.
Yes.
So again, our guest today is Samantha Hillard and Fanny Navarro from the Miami-Dade Parks Department. Thank you so much. We're really lucky to have you in the nature arena. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Michael, and for always being a park champion. So spend more time safely outdoors with your Miami-Dade County Parks.
Great. Samantha, sign us out.
All right. This is Samantha Hillard, and have a great rest of your day.